WA's First Lady of Television has died at the age of 99. Coralie Condon was the first female presenter in Western Australia. She worked for Channel 7 from its very beginning in 1959, both as a presenter and producer. Coralie Condon is also recognised as the Grande Dame of theatre in WA. The first woman on the small screen here. Today, more than 100 family and friends remembered Coralie Condon and her history-making achievements in entertainment.
I want to tell you how proud I am, and yet intensely sad, to have been asked to deliver this eulogy for one of my dearest friends, Coralie Condon. Firstly, I want to thank you all for taking the time from your busy lives to pay tribute to Coralie's life and to express our love and admiration for her and her many achievements during that wonderfully full 99 years. I had the privilege of meeting Coralie through Frank Baden-Powell when I first came to Perth. And a short time later, we were co-judges on Stars of the Future for Channel 7. She was, I believe, at that time, 56 years of age, and I was 14. I could actually have been a contestant, but I was not. We then did a Christmas show at the Old Civic in Inglewood with Coralie produced, and then produced an old-time music hall in Fremantle with our loyal friends and stalwart aide-de-camp Rick Herder, and I doing the mucking of Geordie's Byre and various other things. And so started many years of Coralie's birthday parties and Boxing Day extravaganzas. After all these years of celebrations, I could have easily have become an alcoholic. But thank God, God came to my rescue. If there was a local equivalent of an Oscar to give, you would be the first recipient.
Friends, family and the TV elite gathered in Fremantle to pay their respects.
I'd like to say something. I mean, there's so much to be said about Coralie, but this is really not about Coralie. This is about Coralie's link to the outside world, and I'm talking about Rick and Audrey Long. And without them there as real stalwart friends to Coralie, and they were the link to the outside world. They would phone me from time to time and say, Rick particularly would phone and say, and told me that Coralie wanted to start a music hall. And I said, that's great. And I said to her, what does she want? And she wanted it where she was in Castledare. And I said, well, that might be a bit difficult, do you think? And she told Rick, no problem at all, he'll get the cast. And then I suggested, when she then spoke to me, I said, how about rehearsals? You don't need rehearsals. She said, you probably know it now. Well, that was 40 years ago. And frankly, I didn't know what I had for breakfast the morning previous. So 40 years ago was a bit of a stretch. But they've been just wonderful, and I can't pay the highest tribute enough to Rick and Audrey, who were absolutely marvellous with her. And as I said, the link to the outside world. and it's just so good. You have been wonderful. I hope in my old age, you know, when I reach my 50s, I have someone as close and be able to care for me as much as you have done for Coralie. Thank you.
Very quickly, but be very quick. I first met Coralie when I was 11. And I have to say I wasn't terribly impressed. Well, she was so old. She was 26, nudging 27. But 9 years after that, I was doing a production at the Old Rep called Amphitryon 38. Coralie is playing the lead opposite Jamie Kemp. If anybody here remembers Jamie Kemp, good, well done. And all of a sudden, one day, the production manager came in and he said, "I tell you what, Rick." I said, "What?" "Jamie Kemp's in hospital, he can't do the production tonight and probably not tomorrow night either." So I said, oh, what are we doing? He said, "You're it." I said, "What?" Now, I'm 20, looking at about 17. Jamie Kemp is 45 and I'm playing opposite Coralie Condon, who was 27. I mean, what do you do? Hours of makeup which didn't work. It must have been the most horrendous experience of all time. And fortunately, with traumatic things like this, your memory goes completely and I don't remember a thing about it. Shortly after that, then, we did, she wrote and produced for the Old Rep the first of her reviews, On the Beam. And I was in the first one of On the Beam for 2 nights. I was the face of the man in the moon. It could only have been 2 nights because obviously I wasn't terribly good. Nothing like blue cheese at all, no, more like a cold pie. And then eventually I went to England anyway and studied at Ladner. Okay, fine. When I came back, lots of other things happened. We did productions in Perth, and I did one thing with Tony Howes, for Tony Howes, at St George's Cathedral, The Business of Good Government. And on we went. We did such a lot of things together in the theatre, one way and another. We never did ballet together, no. And we didn't do Shakespeare. I know Coralie was very keen, very interested in Shakespeare, and loved it. I hope she likes this bit. "Our revels now are ended. These our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherit, shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a wrack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep." See you, Coralie.
The thing I think I really would like to say about Coralie is that, you know, we look at all of her background in theatre and all that sort of thing, and television, and thank God to her, she saved me and auditioned me, and I got into television because of her. But the one thing I found over the years, that when she lost her sight, was how charitable she was. We would sit at the table in her dining room, the phone would ring and she'd pick it up and she'd say, "Oh yes, I'll send you $50, I'll send you $30, I'll send you." And in the end I said, "Koo," I said, "you are just giving so much to charity." I said, "I think what we ought to do is write it down in a book." So I got an exercise book, started writing them down, filling the page after page, and I showed them to her one day and I said, "I do think you ought to pick just 3 or 4 and stop sending all this money." So every time the phone rang, I'd pick it up and say, "Look, I'm terribly sorry, could you take your name off now, please?" So her charitable way of giving, she was the most giving person. She loved buying toys for the kids, for all the kids, and Christmas to her was wonderful because, again, it was a time of giving. So you know all the other background of her, but I know that very special background of how giving she was, as far as being a very, very charitable person. And I say, God bless you, and I know she's with us, and I certainly feel her around me all the time.
I had a phone call yesterday from Maggie King and Joan Sydney, who were planning to come on over, but the airfares were just a little bit out of the possibility at the moment. But they wanted to say that, you know, had it not been for Coralie, Australia would have lost a couple of actors anyway. She started them off, and as you both all know, they both went on for great film and television and stage work, and are still working. I'd just like to say I'm sure Coralie will be conducting the Heavenly Choir, and Frank probably corrupting it.
Eileen Colocott, if you don't know. I'd just briefly like to say I arrived from England in 1953, and a couple of months later I came to town with £10 in my pocket. Said, where's the theatre I can join? I joined the Repertory, the old Repertory, which was a wonderful theatre by the side of the old Palace Hotel. Sadly it's gone. But the first person I met was Coralie. She said, oh, you've just arrived from England. Right, I want you to do Charlie's Aunt. I said, no way. I've just done it in England. I want to do something else. And after that, we shared a flat down in Birtway. We shared many, many, many years of working together, and I just think she was so brilliant and a wonderful person who, in the last years, I'll never get to be like she was, to be so vital and so alive. Thank you, Coralie.
Yay. You forgot to say you shared a husband.
I'm Jane Roberts. Most of you would probably know me as Jane Baden-Powell, Frank's eldest daughter. So I grew up with Coralie and Dad working, and also with my mum, because Coralie directed Mum in A Good Oil. We found that on YouTube when Mum passed away last year, and we were looking for some videos. But the one memory I have with Coralie is Coralie and I shared a cabin on a cruise down the Nile, and I think the two of us sat on our bunks throwing up every single day and holding our nose. But I mean, Coralie was a part. I haven't seen Coralie in quite some time, so I was really lucky that I was here today to be able to come. But Coralie was an important part of our life of growing up. I mean, her and Dad together, what they created was amazing, and I just think she was an amazing lady, and I wish I could have got to know her a bit more in her later years, but I always have those memories of cruising down the Nile and throwing up together.
My name is Jenny Davis. Can I just say, make a mention on behalf of my family, because I'm the only one who can be here today to represent them, because my husband Bernie is in Sydney at the moment, and so is my daughter Rebecca and her husband Stuart, and they all send their love and condolences. But Rebecca and Stuart really wanted to say what an amazing figure for them as young people that Coralie represented, and how enthusiastically she always supported very young people in the theatre, which they didn't know anybody else her age. So it was really quite remarkable that she took such an interest in them, and so did James, actually, her brother. And he looked after them when they were in Melbourne, because Coralie sent them along to see him, and he took care of them in Melbourne in their early days of their career. So she meant a great deal to them. And Stuart particularly wanted me to mention how in her last years, her last weeks, months, she would appear to watch theatre in her wheelchair, even though she could barely see it. And he said that must be a true theatre stoic, such as we don't normally see. So that's our fond memories of Coralie, and thank you very much, Tonia, and everybody for providing this event today.
Thanks, Jen.
Good morning. My name's Sherylee, and I met Coralie originally in the Children's Channel 7 era as a child with all the dancing schools that used to come in, and I met her over many years. She contacted my mother and when I was 16 and said, we're opening a second music hall at Fremantle and I'd like Sherylee to come in and audition. Well, needless to say, I got the audition, and I opened Fremantle Music Hall in the cast with Murray and Sally. Ray was not with us then, but joined us later on, and then eventually Eileen and I were in the same cast, along with Maggie King. And the thing I wanted to say was thanks to her and to Frank that I had 10 years continuous work in professional theatre, something unheard of. In fact, we were thinking of asking for superannuation at one stage. It just wasn't heard of. And it was a fabulous time of my life, working 4 nights a week, rehearsing on 2, full-time job in the day. But it certainly taught me the value of being organised and being reliable, and I can only thank her from the bottom of my heart.
I'm Jeremy Murray. I first met Coralie in 1988 when June Percival sent me off to do an audition at Dirty Dick's. Coralie was very gracious and promptly offered me a job as a barman. So, maybe that says something about my acting ability. My wife Gai had already auditioned at that stage and was, I think you were about to do the next show, weren't you? Yeah. That was the start of 8 or 9 years that I worked at Dirty Dick's until we closed in '97, and met some wonderful people, and lots of you are here today, and it was fantastic to actually see lots of them at the service today. Some of the minstrels who I didn't recognise and didn't know they actually would wear suits. I was used to seeing them in tights and slops, so it was nice to see. But you know, Coralie was quite amazing, and I don't want to get emotional. But just the time that she spent with me and mentoring me as a young fella, she's amazing. Sorry.
My name's Gai MacLennan, formerly Gai Spillman. My friend here, Janet, who used to be Janet Ladner, and we both have some fabulous memories of Coralie, and another lady, Colleen Clifford, who I was very lucky to be her first child pupil, Colleen. And she introduced me to Coralie Condon, and I was about 1959. We got a telegram, because in those days Mum didn't have a phone. Mum had to organise with the school to get permission to get me out of the school. 1-car family, so Coralie would come around and pick me up at my home, take me out to Channel 7 because they got a pianola in, and I had to sing next to the pianola or something like that. About 2 weeks ago I had a fire very close to my home. First thing I grabbed was my father's diaries, and I have all the entries in there of these events, and very close to my heart. But on the way here, Jan and I were saying that every time we come to an event like this, we feel like part of our life is just going away, you know, things that we thought were special, times that were special, people that were special, and it's like it's just peeling away, as Jan put. And we've been friends since I was 7, Jan and I, and a lady who can't be here, Janice Urquhart was Janice Cooper. They were Channel 7 dancers. Later on I was in the Channel 7 workshop, and the 3 of us have remained friends. Well, Jan I knew, the other Jan I knew since I was a year old, so we've been friends ever since. And it's all to do with our love of theatre and dance and music, and just wonderful. And I think that's what brings everyone together, and it's just so lovely to see people like Sally. And I remember this gentleman as the Giant when I was little. In a show we did a pantomime, and I still have the program. I think I was about 6 or something in Albany, but just, you know, I think Coralie's there watching us all and enjoying every minute of this. So, yeah, thank you, Coralie, because she was a special lady.
She is gone. You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she'll come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she's left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she's gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what she would want. Smile, open your eyes, love and go on.
Coralie helped hundreds of budding dancers and actors get their first break in showbiz. She even helped pick the first on-air staff for Channel 7 Perth. Coralie's achievements were recognised in 1993 with a Medal of the Order of Australia. Her work forever in the history books and television archives. Rebecca Picton-King, 7 News.